his work and seeing what he's done, fascinating, most fascinating. Dr. Ben Carson made history in 1987 when he separated. Well, he was a primary surgeon among 70 members of medical team that successfully separated 7-month-old German conjoined twins, Siamese twins, and they're conjoined at the head. Yes, yes. These babies are conjoined at the head. And for me, what was really anybody would think about this is like how do you separate babies at the head? No one had done this prior to him, or, attempted and did it successfully like he did. And the twins, they did 22 hours. 22 hours of procedure for the first time. And the way that they did it for the procedure, they first time was hyperthermia. I know you've probably heard of hyper, but this one is hypothermia. And it's the deliberation of lowering the body temperature. And that coupled with the circulatory bypass and deliberate cardiac arrest to spare the brain tissue for the procedure. So they had to lower their body temperatures and, you know, kind of put them in a stasis almost to like properly do this. And again, 7-month-old babies. Wow. Wow. And 22 hours. And that's just magnificent. The boys returned to Germany and then after 7 months at John Hopkins. So they monitored them for 7 months after the surgery. And, of course, making sure that everything is right and all that kind of stuff. But I can't imagine 7 months. I mean, that's half their life. Like, wow, that's insane. But all this happened, and though overall the boys are doing well, minimal, of course, they're going to have minimal problems. They are conjoined twins. So little bit of things are going to be different in how they go about and are able to do things. But later on in 1997, Dr. Ben Carson led a team of doctors in South Africa. And this time they successfully completed the separation of vertical. Like, so the twins are together, conjoined vertically. And this one lasted 28 hours, and they were 11-month-old boys. And they showed no signs of impairment at the time when they were doing this stuff. And wow, wow, that's impressive. So this is the Dr. Ben Carson that you probably are not aware of. This is a 1987 Dr. Ben Carson when he just hit fame for doing, this propelled him to the next level. And then this Dr. Ben Carson, you're probably familiar with the candidate, the Republican candidate. And you know me, I love my pictures, and this is a good picture of what the boys are looking like, what they have to work with. Um, in that, obviously, he's illustrating where he's planning to do the cut, and you can see the big blue over here. He talks that that is a main vein that they share, and trying if they cut this vein, these babies would bleed out instantly, instantly, and you can see how it's just it almost looks like it's inseparable, which is why again he made history. This is a Siamese twins in-depth view of what they're doing, okay?
Usually been given to one twin, resulting in brain damage to the other. But Carson plans to divide it among both. It's a calculated risk that relies on other blood vessels taking up the blood flow as the sinus is separated. If it goes wrong and the blood flow is disrupted, the twins' brains will swell and hemorrhage, resulting in brain damage or death.
We had to decide what to do with this circular sinus, and that had always been a source of great concern in all of these kinds of cases that people had tried before. There have been 13 attempts before this.
But Carson has an advantage over previous operations. Through his long hours of practice on the virtual workbench, he's formed in his mind a mental map of the twins' brains, what he calls his map of New York City.
And then I remembered the map. I remembered the map of New York City.
But would this mental map make a groundbreaking separation of the twin sinus possible?
And I remember which way the cleavage planes were going. And I knew that if I could put a retractor here and one here, and I just pulled, that it would separate. And it did.
The separation of the sinus is a triumph, a medical first. But there
Wow. Wow. What really got me is when they spoke and they're like, we we found it. Like we were able to get everything, but then once we achieved that mile marker, we found more nerve endings. Even more nerve endings to work on. And you know, surgeons, how they are with their hands, and you know the delicacy and what they have to do. But imagine babies. Their blood vessels are even smaller. And then, of course, it's the brain. So, this is just simply crazy feat. Crazy, amazing feat. And he accomplishes all of this. It's truly amazing. But going back to the book reports, through reading those book reports, Dr. Carson says that those book reports, even though he was in the slums of the inner city and he was in the worst position ever, those book reports transported him to a different world. They transported him somewhere else. He could be reading a book and it doesn't matter that he is an impoverished kid who has nothing. Those books became his time travel, really, his time machine. And I find myself doing the same thing too. I wonder if you guys are similar, that like books, when you get into that world, it's as if you're transported. And to me, books are a refuge. I really I run to them. They're more easy for me to I'd rather read. If someone gave me a choice between reading the English dictionary versus going to a party with some my age, honestly, a bunch of women my age. Let's say it's a bachelorette party in Vegas. If you gave me a choice between a bachelorette party in Vegas and reading, or let's say I'll give it 48 Laws of Power. I would rather read 48 Laws of Power. I'm not. No. 48 Laws of Power is like way better use of my time. And if you're not familiar with 48 Laws of Power, we should talk about that. 'Cause I'm really curious to see if you guys are into that one. So he accomplished that. But we talked about his schooling and then how he got transported to a different world. The lessons that he says that he learned by doing this is that for him, with everybody that he learned that was so great, he learned about what their life was like and what they did to accomplish it. And he learned about the hardships that they went through and what they overcame. And in those, he became enthralled and he became interested in enduring, one, but two, getting something done, and three, understanding that like it is possible because other people have done extraordinary things before me.